as a Chamber of Commerce. It's a group for you, for your business, and for the people that you relate to in your business. We're here to provide the forum and to facilitate it for you. We want to see that you can grow flexibility and compassion and good home working practice, I suppose, and some sort of authentic engagement with your staff, providing them with sort of complete focus, and also looking after your own needs so you're capable of doing that. All of these issues we talk about a lot, but we're here to help you to enable that. Today, we've got a brilliant panel. I want to thank, firstly, our Andover Business Strategy Group, who helped to pull this whole thing together. This program came out of the thinking of our businesses in Andover, but it is for the whole of Hampshire, and indeed wherever you are, whether you're in Surrey, London, or anywhere else, you're welcome to get involved and participate. But it's supported by the founding businesses that have got behind this for us, which is Mission Performance and Andover Mencap and Mercer. So we thank them. You'll be hearing from them today. And it's important that we start to create an engagement with each other. So we've opened up an email address for Wellbeing. I'll be posting that on the chat. We've opened up pages on our website with links and help and support. And we've also got a LinkedIn group so you can share practice and communicate with each other. And we will no doubt be putting on events and other activities such as today's Chamber of Solutions. So welcome, you're at the start of something important for the organisation, important for this Chamber of Commerce, and hopefully important for you and your business. You won't be hearing much from me today. I will be on the chat. I will be helping you with links. I'll be providing you with sort of useful help and advice along the way, and also maybe summarising some of the issues, pointing you in the right direction. I'll be saying thanks at the end, so I'll see you again at that, but we're going to have some interesting breakout sessions, some good input, and we're going to be hearing from each other. It's going to be a great event. Thanks very much for coming along, and back to you, Rob.
Thank you, Ross. Well, Rob Lewis, for those that don't know me, I'm one of the founding directors of Mission Performance. We're a local business based overlooking Daedalus Airfield. Been going for about 20 years. We help businesses to lead, to coach, to communicate, and to minimize risk in these uncertain times. We work globally and locally, face-to-face and online, especially over the last 9 months. So enough of me. Let's turn to our talented panel. I'm going to invite Richard to give us a brief introduction. Away you go, Richard.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. I'm Richard Tarrant. I'm from Mission Performance. I'm an executive coach, but I'm also a professional mountaineer, an outdoor instructor. And I've learned the kind of powerful effect of the right environment in establishing positivity, particularly from a health and well-being perspective. And it's this very positivity that seems to determine the kind of relative resilience of one person over another, particularly when faced with a kind of with unprecedented change. And I think we all certainly know about unprecedented change at the moment. So I'm going to be talking about the importance of the environment that can nurture this kind of a realistic positivity, which makes us all a bit more resilient.
Thank you, Richard. Christina.
Hi, I'm Christina Duff from Mercer. I see a number of familiar faces, so welcome everybody. Nice to see you all again. Mercer, I think as some of you know, we are a global company. We deal with clients of all shapes and sizes, down to two-man schemes up to multinationals around the health, wealth and career space. My current role is the culture leader in the UK and the South regional market leader. And today I'm going to be specifically talking to you about energy and how energy can lead to well-being and productivity. Something I'm very excited about, energy, that is. So yeah, thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Christina. And Helen?
Morning, everyone. So I'm Helen Walker from Andover and District Mencap. We support many vulnerable people in our community, and I'm very, very passionate about doing that and helping those people to develop new skills. I'm also passionate about people development, and I love the organisational mix, if you like, and culture that you can create that's positive and fun I think anybody who knows me knows that fun's my middle name. I do enjoy that, and that really does fill me up and helps me fire up the people who I work with. So today I'm going to focus on kindness, because I think kindness and fun can go very well together, and an absolute essential ingredient at this point in time and where we're all at. It doesn't have to cost, and it's there for us all to take. So I'll be talking about some practical ways that in which we can access kindness and make that part of our routine.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you, panel. To just give you a big picture of what's to follow, we've got 3 sessions, one with led by Richard, Christina and Helen. Richard will start with positivity, then we'll move to Christina with energy. And as Helen said, the kindness. There'll be an element of plenary, breakouts, and encouraging you to ask as many questions, which we'll hope to address in the plenary after each of the mini sessions. So without further ado, Richard, over to you, sir.
Okay, hello everybody. I'm going to talk about positivity. I'm going to share a screen with you and just show you about 5 slides. And then I'm going to ask you to break out into some rooms, just in groups of 3, and generate a question around positivity. And then we can come back into plenary and have a good conversation about whatever it is that you want to talk about in a way around this subject, just for about 15 minutes. So that's the way it's going to play. So if I just share a screen with you now. There we go. You should be able to see that screen. Maybe an odd thumb up if you can see it. Good, that's good. That's good, fantastic. So I noticed that when I look at my my screen on my phone, or in fact any pictures around my room, and you might do the same. Look at your screensaver, look at the pictures on your wall at home or on your office, photographs you have. You'll probably find quite a few of them make you smile. They give you a kind of positive feeling. I can see one on the wall behind Rob there of him skiing across the Arctic in a white environment. And we all have these pictures around us. Even when we choose a fake backdrop for our Zoom, we've generally got a bit of outdoors. Christina's got a lovely sort of winter landscape out there. And when we just look at normal pictures on the walls, most of them actually, it's not just the people and the place and the time, but it's also the environment that's important. And that's kind of what gives us that positive feeling. The environment is really, really important. Might be a holiday we've had or something like that. And the reason for this is that people relate to living things. And young people, if you look at young people, it's quite interesting. If you look at all their toys they tend to have on their bed or in the room, they're all sort of animals relating with the natural environment. You know, they don't have a soft toy brick or something like that. It's a cuddly toy, it's an animal. And they like to connect with other living organisms and think about being in a different environment. We know we all want to be positive, and we all know that we want other people to be positive around us. And we all know we like positive outcomes. I think we all like to work in a positive working environment. Now, my experience, why am I not moving? There we are. My experience is working with people and developing people. This is an expedition down in Patagonia with 140 people. And very often when we work with people of a young age, we take them into the outdoors, into a natural environment to help them develop. And we like to be part of nature because we are actually living kind of connected organisms. But the really important thing when you get a group of people in the outdoors is they become very inspired by the environment, and then they become very inspiring. And I find that people, if you get the environment right, people relate to each other and they spark off each other. And then they also start to appreciate the positive things in life. And the other added benefit, which is fantastic for business, is they become very creative and very innovative, and they start to add value. But it's not how and where we connect that's crucial. All right. Well, it is the how and where we connect that is actually crucial. And I often find in work, meetings and a fixed agenda are actually a bane to connecting in the right way, because a really positive environment allows free talk and free thought. And sometimes I think, we tend to stifle that a little bit. If you have a look at this, and some of you might have seen it before, the general question is what do you see? And we probably all know that there are two ways of viewing this. One being slightly more positive than the other. And this is a kind of mindset. We do have a choice about how we view things. We have a view how we view the situation, how we view other people, and actually we have a choice of how we view ourselves as well. And sometimes it's quite tricky to be really positive when it is a difficult environment, when people are being difficult around us, when we feel slightly challenged ourselves. But it is possible to do that. So I hope we do have a choice. I think we do. The question is, how do we get to this positive outcome easily? That's the difficult question. Now, I had a quick look at this, and some people often say to me, well, we just have to be positive. And all these photographs were taken of my family during lockdown. Okay, the one on the left is me on my birthday by a waterfall. I decided to take a walk by a local waterfall. The one at the top was one of my younger daughter. It was really, really windy and she wanted to jump off this big rock into the wind. And the bottom one, which is slightly unusual, is my girls, and we took a break and went to the sea during lockdown, away from anybody else. And the environment is really, really a really, really important parameter in people feeling good. And I think all these pictures, everyone was feeling good then. And one of the questions is then, is the environment in which we relate, really, really positive? Is it psychologically safe? Is it a space of inquiry? Is it allowing me to connect with myself and my others in a positive way? Because everything is connected, and I read a fantastic book about Alexander von Humboldt way back in 1831, and he talks about every single thing is connected. All right, we are just an organism within an environment. In fact, that's what ecology actually really means. It's the science of the relationship of organisms in an environment, and we are no more than an organism in the environment in which we kind of work. So as you can see, I am passionate about the environment, but I do know when I go into a very bland, plain walled room in an office to talk with somebody, I find the environment uninspiring. Sometimes when I go into a room and it's got pictures which I connect with, they make me think, yeah, and they make other people think as well. What I'd like to do, and we're going to break you off into rooms of 3 very, very shortly. And you may need to take a quick photograph of this so that you can see it. I'd like you to generate a question around positivity from a human perspective relating to your environment. Okay, so for a question, it has to end with a question mark, otherwise it's not a question. And it can be a question just for me or just for other people, or it can be just a kind of reflective rhetorical question. It doesn't need to be. Okay, so the subject is positivity. Just create a question around that. Okay, let's go off into breakout rooms for a quick 5 minutes. And then when we come back, only once we've come back, I want you to just, as soon as you come back, just type that question into the chat box, please. Off you go. We've got a couple of people who haven't gone.
It was because that they joined late, so I wasn't able to add them to the breakout. So it looks like the rooms are good.
I think, yeah, I'm not sure Helen and Christina saw your message. Are you watching the time, Bob?
It's on auto timer as well, but I'm keeping check of the time, Rich.
Sorry. So apparently, Bob, there's a button where you can deselect the panelists so we don't get put into the breakout room. Somebody told us in the breakout room. when you're putting people in, if you deselect us, we won't then get put in.
I haven't found that yet. I was looking for that, but I couldn't see it.
Yeah. I now know how to leave. It took me a while to work out. Richard, that was brilliant. I felt so positive after that. It was great.
Thank you.
I just want to go outside. That's the trouble.
Yeah, that's the feeling I got. I just thought, right, okay, I'm off.
You're on mute, Rob. Rob Lewis on mute.
Yeah, your girls are growing up, mate.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? Yeah, they're very definitely, very definitely growing up.
I'm just going to put
they,
the bathroom while they're on.
Richard, how old are your girls?
11 and 13.
Oh,
Yeah,
lovely age.
So
Yeah.
good age. Yeah, good age.
That picture, Rich, November 24th. Was that this year?
Does it say November 20?
Does on the phone. Is that, were you up in Scotland?
Oh yes it was. No, actually it was from August bank holiday. I took them out in a canoe on Ullswater in the Lake District, and then we camped on an island called Norfolk Island. So yeah, right in the middle of the lake on August bank holiday, and there was nobody else there. So it's about 30 foot in diameter. So yeah. Real swallows and Amazons.
Lovely, mate. Lovely. So what sort of questions you hope they'll come back with, just to give us an idea, Rich?
Right, well, oops, I just lost my slide.
Just to let you know, they've got a minute left.
Anything around sort of exercise, in the outdoors, sort of the kind of serotonin sort of stuff, positives versus negatives, loneliness, anything around that really, or stuff to do, anything to do with the environment really would be a big thing. I just accidentally closed my slides. Hang on.
You don't have to go to Scotland. You could walk around your block, couldn't you? Regardless of where you live.
There's a big conversation really about outside versus outdoors. We talk about the outdoors, the great outdoors, but there is outside, which is just outside your back door, in your terrace.
They're about to come back in.
Okay.
I was talking about girls, Chris, Rich. You remember walking around the block with my girls when they were young, pushing a pushchair, just to get a bit of fresh air. And amazing what you notice enjoying that little walk around the block. It doesn't have to be on a mountain somewhere.
Yeah. So as you come back, if you can type in the question to the chat box, that would be fantastic. The question that you were posing. Or if another question comes into your head right now, just type that in.
Long questions, Richard. Coming
up.
They
are. I'm just having a look through them now. Bob, let me know when everyone's back. Are they all back? Okay, we've got a good few questions there coming through. Okay. So I was looking at some of the comments earlier on. Actually, Annie had a great one at the beginning and said, when managed well, work can be good for your mental health. And I agree with that. It can be. Work can be good, but I think sometimes we need to make sure we work hard at work to make sure we do feel good about ourselves and have that kind of positive, healthy feeling. I mean, one thing that made me smile, I'm on this Zoom call, you know, it's not my favorite environment. I'll put my hand on my heart, but then as soon as Emily's cat came into screen, I smiled and I noticed lots of other people smiled. So, you know, there's a kind of, you know, a living organism, part of a kind of natural world. You know, if you go back quite a few years, people could take their pets to work. How many people take their pets to work now in kind of formal offices? Not many, I'm sure some do. But it's well known that, you know, animals and pets make people feel good about themselves because it's bringing that kind of natural environment from the outside. Emily also mentioned living to work versus working to live. I think that's a very good point. And making sure we treat humans, staff, or people who work with us as humans, not just as a kind of resource. So somebody asked a question there about how does walking aid positive thinking, and whether we actually need to climb a mountain or go for a swim or a walk to kind of to get positive thoughts. And I don't necessarily think we have to go and climb a mountain or swim across the English Channel or do anything that dramatic. It's well known that just a kind of short moment of kind of about 10 minutes can be really powerful. And there's a big question at the moment about outdoors versus outside. Outdoors is kind of related very often with hills and mountains and going for a walk and rambling. But outside is literally outside your back door, even in your terrace at the back of your house if you've got one, or on your balcony if you're in an apartment. It can be just connecting with the kind of fresh air and the kind of wind in your face. But there are many studies done on why the outdoors actually does physiologically make us feel much more positive. And one of the things around that, I'll just share this on my kind of screen because I've got it up here, is this thing here. Does anyone know what this is? It's not a chemistry question, it's serotonin. And serotonin is a neurotransmitter. And there's lots and lots of studies done that a better mood is associated with higher blood serotonin levels. And there are many neurotransmitters in our bodies, and there are chemicals released which allow these transmitters to fire and operate in the way they do. But they have a powerful connection in how we work. And there's a great study that was done on people recovering from gallbladder operations a few years ago. what they actually studied was whether those people had a view out of the hospital window of any piece of the natural environment, like a tree or blue sky or anything, and the others were in a room with no windows. And the people with no windows, they didn't recover as quickly, they needed more painkillers, and they were in hospital for longer. It doesn't work nowadays because the gallbladder operation is probably a day off, but at the time of the study, that's what they noticed. And then there are other studies done. A really famous one was done of people in prison, of people who were in a cell with just the smallest view of the natural environment and the behavioral differences between the two groups. And I think I'll stop sharing that now, but it's very, very true that another study that was done was people going exercising. And if you go and exercise in a gym, yes, you will feel really good about yourself. You'll pump oxygen through your blood and you feel good about yourself. But if you do the same amount of exercise in an outdoor environment, your serotonin levels and the other positive neurotransmitters, you'll have more of them. There'll be a greater level. And the one that gets me sometimes is if I go for a swim in a swimming pool versus a swim in natural water or particularly the sea when I'm on holiday, I feel totally different when I come out of the sea compared with coming out of a swimming pool. And yes, we could talk about chlorine, but there is actually something about connecting with something that's more natural. And I did a piece to camera, actually. It's on a YouTube video of walking by myself up in the mountains for 4 or 5 days, in fact. And I found actually that I had a lot more original thoughts, and I was able to think slower for longer because I wasn't cluttered by all the stuff around me. And a good friend of mine, in fact, I wrote it down. He said to me the other day, it clears your mind so new thoughts can become present. And I think sometimes when we're in a working environment, there's constant interruptions to our train of thought. All right, and that allows us, and that's kind of can stifle our thought process. So what other questions did we get? Did we have there? Let me just have a look. Any other questions you spotted there, Bob?
Yeah, Rich, there's been a few around how creating the right environment when you're working from home in lockdown.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. How do we create the right environment? I think there's a couple of things around positivity. I can find days where I stay at my desk and my computer too long. And I think we've all talked about it, but these 10-minute breaks can be really, really powerful. But do we walk to the kitchen and make ourselves a cup of coffee, which makes us more hyper? Or do I go and step out of the back door, walk in the garden, or walk around the little lane at the back of my village, and then back into my office? Do I actually consciously make a choice of whether, right, I'm going to the kitchen for the coffee, or I'm going to go and sit in the garden or walk around for 10 minutes? And I think it's worth experimenting. But equally, if we've got people working for us, it's really important that we kind of encourage them to do that. Would you like to come for a walk with me? Let's go outdoors, rather than getting into this routine. And I think we can, I've found out when I'm working in big offices within companies as a consultant, I can find myself trapped in there all day long. And in winter, it's really, really tough because I've gone in there in the morning when it's dark, and when I leave in the evening, it's dark, and I realize I've just missed all daylight. And I can go for a number of days without seeing any daylight. I think other tips from home, I've got no lights on in my room. This is natural light that's pouring in from a window from outdoors. So I face the outdoors and actually can see a tree over there. That for me, and I've got 3 bird boxes on the wall, and I can see the birds going in and out of bird boxes. So if you can try and engineer it in some way so you've got a bit of a view of natural light, I think that's a really good point.
Rich,
but making the yes,
I was just going to pick up on the point. around the boundaries and the importance of role modeling, especially if you lead a team. So that it places huge responsibility on us that lead teams to role model the right types of behavior. What are your views on that?
On the role playing, on the role playing.
Yeah, role modeling the right type of behavior when you're working from home.
Yeah, I think certainly, there's you often have people at work who pontificate about a certain thing that you should do, but they don't actually do it themselves. I had a great boss who always used to say, praise in public, rebuke in private, but he didn't do that. So consequently, other people within the organization didn't tend to do it either. But I had a boss who said my office is always open, and literally his office door was always open. But it was slightly more than that. If you walked in, he would literally drop what he was doing. It's a difficult thing to promise, but if you do promise something like that, you've got to do it properly.
Yeah.
But I think also with positivity, there's a big thing around people saying, "Oh, we just need to be positive," and banging their chest. Well, we can't be positive all the time, but people can just say, "Well, okay, allowing you time to talk about things." And if they're actually doing that, then other people in your organization will allow other people to talk about that.
Yeah.
I've got just one other thing I wanted to show you here, which I thought was kind of made me smile. A little slide here, which was of a huge wave and a little boat, this famous ship, a boat coming along here with this massive wave, and someone just said, "It'll be fine." Well, that's a great positive statement, but actual fact doesn't necessarily mean everybody will be fine. Because when we're at the bottom of a place, and there's a little wave down here at the bottom of the slide, because life is a bit like that. If we're going along, yes, it's really easy to be positive when everything's going well, but when we're in the bottom, it's very difficult to be positive. And one thing we can do when we're in the bottom of a wave, when we're a bit of a low point, is we can help people reflect into the past and start to think about events in the past and what it is that they've done to get through those difficult situations. And I think that's something we could do at the moment, faced with COVID, when things are really tough. We could get our teams together and we could say, okay, I know we haven't had a situation like this in the past, but what situations have we had which were really, really difficult and we got through them? And we can start reflecting on what positive things we did to get through that. But we as a boss or a manager or as a leader, we need to manage that conversation when we need to create the environment to do that. And for me, one of the simple ways is to get people out to just go for a small walk, to get out and just go for a small walk, and allow people to walk side by side with each other and just talk things through and reflect back into the past. I think that's a really positive way to do things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
One of the other things I was talking about is this thing of loneliness and loneliness. And I think when we're at home at the moment, working on Zoom and working from home, there can be this tendency to have loneliness, and people always talk about loneliness. Strangely enough, loneliness, if you read Robinson Crusoe's book by Daniel Defoe, written in about the 1860s, the word loneliness doesn't appear because it's actually quite a modern term. Oneliness was actually always viewed as a positive, that opportunity to go away and be by yourself and think and be creative. And I think there's a balance between the two things. If we're by ourselves all the time, that can be really negative and very difficult to be positive. But actually being by ourselves for short periods of time can be a very good thing if we view it in a positive manner. Yeah. And it's getting a balance between the two things. Yeah. Okay, how are we doing on time, Rob?
I think we're about there, Rich, for the intro. I'd just like to just pick up on a couple of points before we hand over to Christina. I think that listening to you, Rich, you know, the impact, the shadow that we cast as leaders, the environment that we create is so important, and the boundaries that we set at home as well. You mentioned boundaries of structuring your time, the environment with pictures and views that make us feel a little bit more, feel a little bit more human rather than less. I think it's so important. So structure and boundaries and all of those things. I think it's incumbent on all of us to take more of a fleeting glance at how we currently work during our working week and how we might structure it slightly differently, and start role modeling that for the people that we've got the privilege to lead. So, Richard, thank you for that. We'll have some time for some questions, perhaps at the end of the session, but we'll be signposting future events where we can go into a little bit more detail on what you've said. So thank you, Richard. Christina, may I pass the baton to you?
You may. I was just replying to somebody in the chat. Thank you very much. Gosh, I could listen to Richard all day. I only met him a couple of weeks ago. And so thank you very, very much, Richard, man after my own heart with the outdoors and everything. So thank you. So I'll probably build a little bit on what Richard said, and I'm going to talk about energy, but just a little bit about Mercer first and our role in the Wellbeing Alliance, because Ross talked about the Wellbeing Alliance, and what Mercer will add to that is strategy around wellbeing. So if you work with a company or want to know anything about wellbeing strategy, so with regards to physical, mental, social or financial wellbeing, and areas around prevention, intervention and protection, we're very happy to talk to you about that. So that's the role that we'll specifically play within the Wellbeing Alliance. But I'm going to talk to you about energy today. So I am going to share my screen. Here we go. And I'll go on to slideshow. There we go. I was actually asked to write a blog around wellbeing and energy earlier in the year by our global team, and I decided to use the acronym ALIVE. So I'm just going to talk about my personal approach to making sure that I have enough energy to live and work and do all the great things that we need to. ALIVE, the first one is being active, and Richard's talked about this, being in the outdoors, but I get a huge amount of energy from being active. And earlier in the year, actually, when I was first writing the blog, I'd been at some European Championships in Spain, and I came back and I actually fell the day before and ended up getting pleurisy, an infection in the lungs. Took me a while to work out what it was. It was literally as COVID was happening, and I just didn't feel well at all. I worked out what it was, but what it meant was that I actually couldn't run, I couldn't cycle, I couldn't do very much at all, and I was really, really down. So I had to get myself well, and I did. I managed to get some antibiotics, and I rested a lot, which is it's quite unusual for me. I'm not a resting person. I don't sit down very much, but I had to get myself well so I could be active again. And Richard talked a lot about this, and being active, it doesn't mean that you have to be climbing a mountain. It doesn't mean that you have to be swimming the channel. Just a walk. I literally went for a walk for 10 minutes around the park this morning, and it is so inspiring, and it will give you energy. I know some people say, oh, that'll tire me out. It actually won't. It gets those endorphins flowing, those happy hormones, the serotonin levels go up. So one way that I get energy is actually by being active. And there's some research from Mercer's Global Talent Survey that shows that energized employees are 5 times more likely to say they are thriving and less likely to burn out. So actually, if you've got more energy and if you encourage your employees to have more energy, they will actually be more productive at work because they'll come to work with a better mindset. My next one is learning. I actually love to learn new things. Again, when I was ill, I just had no enthusiasm for learning anything new at all. I was taking on a new role, the role that I'm doing now, the regional market leader. It was something very, very new to me. I needed a new skill set. It was doing things like this that I'd never done before. Again, so I had to get myself well, but once I was better, and I started to learn how to do these things, I actually felt more energized. The first conversation that Helen and I had around this Wellbeing Alliance, I was so excited about it, and it was something new. So I would just encourage you all to try and think about, okay, so what new skill can I learn? It might be photography, it might be gardening, it might be reading a book, it might be playing the guitar, anything. But just try and learn something new, because if we don't learn and we don't keep moving along, then actually we go really stale. So just a few more facts and figures here. Energized employees are 2 times as likely as de-energized employees to be excited about the prospect of reskilling, and 3 times more likely to be satisfied with their company with no plans to leave. And we talk about this reskilling, and especially in this environment, people are losing their jobs. So we need to think about what new skills people can pick up. So either, helping current employees, or if you're an individual that has been affected, what new skills can you pick up? And that again will give you a new energy, and it will help your well-being. So inspiring, and again, I was delighted. Richard's been stealing all my lines here. I was really happy to see him talking about inspiring. We are inspired by others, but think about how you can inspire others by doing something. By, dare I say, climbing a mountain and put it in on Instagram. But it doesn't have to be something as big as that. It can be anything. It can be, I took a walk this morning, and we talked about, Rob talked about role modeling and leaders role modeling. And especially at Mercer, we talk about well-being, we talk about taking breaks. If you see a leader doing that and literally going off for a lunchtime walk and then telling people about it, that leader will actually inspire others to do the same. So next time you do something that you think, actually, do you know what, this would be really good to tell people about. There's a big thing about, showing off. Nobody likes to show off. But think of it as a gift. What gift are you giving to somebody today to actually show them something different to do? And as we're all working from home, social media is, it's quite a big thing. It's taken on a life of its own, but actually it can be used in a really, really positive way. So I would encourage you, to use LinkedIn, use Twitter, use Instagram, Facebook, if you're on Facebook, just to show people what you're doing and how you're looking after your own well-being and how you're getting energy to face the day. The next one is versatile. We've all had to be versatile during lockdown. If anybody's done Myers-Briggs, I'm an extrovert. On the insights wheel, I'm a yellow. I need to be out there. I need to be seeing people. All of a sudden, you're in lockdown. You're stuck at home. You're on Zoom. How do you cope with that? So for me, I book in regular breaks into my diary. I book in a lunchtime every single day, as long as I can do. I try and make sure that I don't have more than 2 hours of Zoom calls. It's not always possible, but that's what I do. I did little things like I bought myself a green screen to have a bit of fun with backgrounds. I bought myself a whiteboard. I've got a little lighting ring here. So it's just about changing your own environment to be able to be adaptable and make sure you get those breaks to give you the energy to continue. And then finally, embracing the change, because it has been a change for lots of us. And here I just want to talk a little bit about EQ versus IQ. So emotional intelligence, if you like, versus in the intellectual quotient. And more companies are looking at the emotional side of things and the skills that you have there. So, for example, creativity. We've talked about that, being more creative in the workplace, and actually embracing that and making that a skill of the future. So just have a think about the skills that you have that maybe aren't the technical skills for the job, but actually, you might be a great motivator. There might be other things that you're really, really good at that you haven't thought about, and actually using those skills in the future, and again getting energy from that. We talked about it hasn't been great for everybody, and I had a bit of a meltdown in August, I just couldn't cope anymore. It was just, I was indoors. I wasn't getting results at work. Dare I say it, the doctor had changed my HRT. I was having a bit of a, not literally a breakdown, but I was not in a good place. And actually, I took a blank sheet of paper and I wrote down what I wanted from my job. And I thought, actually, what I'm really good at is motivating people, inspiring people, collaborating, connecting. And I went back to that and I thought, that's what I can do. And I got a renewed energy. And people look at me and go, yeah, but you're always so positive. Actually, I'm not. And it's about these choices. What can you do to actually look after yourself? So again, just a bit of facts and figures here. Thriving employers are twice as likely to work for an organisation that effectively balances EQ and IQ in decision making, and that's something that less than half of companies get right today. So I just wanted to talk to you about how I personally get energy. I hope some of that has resonated with you. And now we'll do the same as Richard. If we'll just go into breakout groups and just generate a question around energy that you would like to ask me or anybody else in the panel.
Helen, I put them into a different breakout room, so I think they think they're in the main room. That's why they're not on the screen with us.
Sorry, Bob, were you talking to me then? Sorry.
Yeah. So
Sorry for that again.
Rich and Rob are in the breakout room. I think they think they're in the main room.
Oh, okay. Am I in the right place then?
Yeah.
Cool.
I've hunted through Zoom Help and I cannot find how you deselect panelists from the breakout room. So I don't know where that information came from.
I don't, but there's a prompt at the bottom left of my screen, so I just got myself quickly out.
Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed that. So if you do the same thing, if you pop your question in the chat, then I will endeavour to answer them or call on my co-panel and answer them as well. We were just talking, we actually got put into a, I got put into a breakout with Rob and Richard, and we were talking about this, you know, this vulnerability and allowing yourself to be vulnerable, and also labeling emotions as well, so that you're not scared of them and you're happy to talk about them. So I'll just see here. So what flexibility do you offer your team to get out and take breaks? How much time per day is reasonable? Yeah, I think this is it's a really good question. I think I think that's come as a result of mine. Interesting. I'll answer it from a Mercer point of view. I mean, Mercer have got 4,500 people in the UK, and we've always had a very good flexible working policy, but we are even more flexible now, and we're really encouraging people to work to the schedule that works to them, especially with regard when people were doing homeschooling, they're caring for relatives. So, you know, if people would prefer to start at 10 and finish at 6, or prefer to start at 8 and finish at 4, or take a 2-hour lunch break, we've certainly been very flexible around that, or with ensuring that we meet our clients' needs. And I think it's interesting because we have had people that you know, having to take quite a lot during this time, and I'm a big believer of the time bank account. You know, you put deposits in, you take money, you know, you take time out as well. And a lot of people have given an awful lot to businesses in the past, and now they might have to take a little bit more, and that's okay. And you've got to make sure that you let them know that's okay, because probably next year, you know, they know they've been treated so well that actually they're going to go, you know, 110, 120% next year. So I just think that flexibility is so important if your business can allow. So yeah. How do you stop people from feeling guilty for taking energizing breaks? This is it's a really interesting one actually, because we've even got, and I personally think the more junior the employee, the more guilty they feel. They almost have to feel that they're sitting at their desk the whole time. And I think it's people managers play a huge role here, and they say, look, I am allowing you to do this, but dare I say it, people have to take personal responsibility as well. I'm a female Catholic. There's nothing worse for guilt than a female Catholic, I can assure you. It's taken me a long time to talk about, you know, being outside, even on I haven't worked Fridays for quite a while, even sort of posting on social media about cycling on Friday when I don't even work on a Friday took a while, but I do now. And I do think, again, the more that leaders and managers can talk about what they're doing to show that it is okay, is really powerful. So that would be my advice around that. I'm trying to, Rob, is there any themes coming through?
Well, Christina, there's one about how to get the balance of rest and sleep right. And I know I've been in the past trying to do this, where I've tried to rest at the weekends, and then I learned that, you know, actually resting during the weekend, regular 10 minutes was probably more effective. What's your thoughts on getting the right balance of rest and sleep?
Oh, rest and, well, I'm an 8 hours a night woman, so I love my sleep. I have until very recently used a little strap called a Whoop strap, and it actually measures your sleep. But there's lots of other things out there. There is an awful lot of science around sleep and sleep hygiene, and having, you know, the right environment for sleep. So personally, I never take my phone into my bedroom. It stays downstairs, you know, it's there, so it's never looked at night. It gets picked up in the morning. Usually as soon as I go down to the kitchen, it's picked up. So I'd say make your sleep environment a very comfortable environment. You know, I would say completely devoid of distractions. You might want to read a book, but for me, there's nothing as important as sleep. Other people I know are different. Other people prefer to have a nap in the day, but rest is very important. Rest in your body and rest in your mind. I tend to, dare I say, I rest my mind by doing things. So I'm hopeless at mindfulness because I can't sit still, but I do mindfulness when I'm on my bike. Other people do it when they're walking. but also having a rest from the digital environment as well is very, very important. So I don't know if you want to add anything, Richard, from your own experience.
Well, I did a test with a company called ProHab, and I had wore a monitor for 3 days, and then I got debriefed on it, and I was actually quite shocked how I thought I was. The weekend was a nightmare. I wasn't resting at all at the weekend. I was with my children all the time, and I was doing lots of outdoor stuff with them, and apparently I was just exhausting myself. And the one day I got the best recovery rate on this test was when I'd taken regular 10-minute breaks. And so it is that frequency rather than banking it all up and then trying to recover.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. And that sort of goes back to my point of almost resting from the Zoom calls. So, you know, making sure you don't do this solid 8-hour day where you're literally sat at your desk. It's hard. On a Tuesday today, actually, I actually do a race on the indoor bike in the evening, and honestly, if I'm sitting down all day to actually motivate myself to then get on that, it's really difficult. So yeah, these little breaks are really, really important, I think. Yeah.
Christina, with one eye on time, I could listen a lot longer, and we haven't got the luxury of time. Thank you very much for that session. I think that one of the things that I'll take away is that your head is not simply, your body is not simply a delivery mechanism to take your brain to work. There's a little bit more to it than that, and we've got to find what works for us.
Yeah.
And I think that some of the things you mentioned bravely about putting your own personal experiences is really powerful too. And we discussed in the breakout room, didn't we, about a lady called Brené Brown. I'll put a link down in the chat. She speaks a lot about vulnerability and courage and all the things that you displayed in your session. So thank you very much, Christina. We're now going to turn to Helen, and Helen, over to you.
Hi everyone. Okay, so some really, really great things said this morning. All of these things are interlinked. They all form part of a wonderful mix that we all need, and everybody's mix will be different. And it's getting into that mindset and framing that and understanding and recognizing what your mix is. So I'm looking forward to sharing with you my part of the mix on kindness. But before I move on to that, I just want to tell you how I feel about the Wellbeing Alliance. So one of the founding members, I'm passionate about helping others anyway. I'm in that industry. I work with vulnerable people and lead that organisation. And I can't tell you how hard that job is, particularly through these times, but how rewarding it is. So it's incredibly challenging, but it's also just, it feels so good because we're helping other people. And, you know, in terms of how we help each other, there shouldn't be boundaries in place, particularly now about how we help each other. We can help our business community, we can help other charities, we can help organisations. So when I sort of palled up with Christina early on, we were both very passionate about doing our bit, working together collaboratively with others, and just seeing, okay, what can we do to help us all get through this? Not the selective, it's the inclusive. How do we help other businesses? How do we help each other? And as part of that, I felt quite passionate about the charities and the charity cluster. So we've got a cluster of charities who work together. We've got the U Trust, we've got Unity, who are based in Andover. We've got Citizens Advice, who they've hopped on board and said, look, you know, let's just signpost. Let's make sure that our business community, as well as our charities and the vulnerable people we support, that we're sort of signposting and helping people in organisations. Because at the end of the day, I think, you know, Christine and Rob alluded to this, we are not machines. We're people, we're living organisms, and we need that care to excel to our best level. So in terms of that role and starting this Wellbeing Alliance, it's, for me, it's almost forget what's past, that's gone. This is the new reality that we're in, and it's building those meaningful relationships together, and that the business relationships being there too. So it actually feels good, and I'm going to really major on that feel good right through my my little snapshot, if you like. So, you know, from a charity point of view, we help others. People can volunteer with us. We can partner with organisations anyway. But more importantly than that, right now, we can support people in organisations. We can signpost them to help. We can give help. And everybody will need a different mix of help. Every single person, it will be impacting differently. So, you know, please do remember that, and that together, you know, we'll all have different skills, different things we can bring to the Alliance. We all can make it a wonderful thing for Hampshire and our surrounding counties. So, more about
Helen, you've accidentally gone on mute.
He said the host muted me. Come on, guys. Sorry. Okay, so in terms of, you know, the key steps, what can we take in terms of helping ourselves? We've talked about the positivity, we've talked about, you know, the energy, we've talked about connecting with each other and learning. Christina mentioned that, and being in the moment as well, which is really, really important. Just getting used to the moment that you're in and seeing what's around you and fully appreciating that moment. As part of the mix, obviously the giving, that's a really important part for that feel good and well-being. And I want to talk to you about the power of kindness and how impactful that can be. I think we'll all remember 2020 as the year of uncertainty and anxiety. And how has that all made us feel? How have we coped? And, you know, what's possible anymore? We can't do this, we can't do that, we can't do the other. It's very easy to get into that mode of telling yourself what you can't do. But let's just, you know, it's almost, let's stop in the tracks. We've talked about positivity and energy. Kindness can help in that, in terms of saying, do you know what, let's get in control of our organisations, of ourselves, of our teams, and actually start to build. It's almost a new timetable and a new mix of kindness linked activities that can help create a better feel. So when I look back in my life, if you think about yourselves, you know, somebody said something kind to you. What was it? How did it impact on you? You'll remember that moment. I remember one from 20 years ago, and someone said to me, "You look for the good in everyone." That comment has stuck with me for years and years and years, and that still makes me feel good now when I remember that comment, because it's, you know, that person didn't have to do that. Kindness is a choice. Somebody can be brave and they can leap out and create that kindness. And I think as well, you know, on the sharing front, in the early days of COVID, we, you know, nobody can pretend that they knew what they were doing. We were just all making it up as we were going along. Oh, I'll try that, see if that works, with the right intentions. And, you know, we set up a kindness team, and we thought, three of us, it was almost, we were all ninjas. Nobody knew who we were. And we set to work on writing personal messages to our support worker team who are helping vulnerable people, and sending gift cards. And it doesn't have to be a lot. That small act, we had great fun doing it together, but that small act made so much difference to people. And just for me and for our support workers, just giving them all an individual call. Again, you've no idea how much that meant to me. It made me feel great. I connected with people who I don't usually connect with. And, you know, I got some really good feedback. So I want you to focus on the small things, because those small things will make a new mix that will then become a great way of being, if you like, through this. So I'm just going to share a few things that, you know, I'm a very practical girl. I like to share practical tips and things. So I'm just going to share with you just some thoughts I've put together. Just bear with me a second. Sure, here we go. So, kindness, it's free. In the main, you can purchase gifts, but yeah, it doesn't have to cost. there are so many ways that you can include kindness in your mix and in part of your team's mix, and then they then can cascade that. The gift of time. One of my leadership team members introduced this to me. Goodness me, I use it every day and every week. If somebody cancels a meeting, and I'm just so grateful because I'm so busy, and I just say, oh wow, you've just given me the gift of time. And it's that feel good approach to, you know, those kind of things. And we often use that analogy, the gift of time. Yeah, the lady who introduced it to me said she's eternally grateful whenever I give her the gift of time and take that small meeting out that's maybe not necessary. In terms of sharing positive energy, you can choose to do that. So again, if you're feeling good a particular day, you're seeing someone's not feeling so good, that's a choice. But it's almost that mindset and making sure that that's high on the priority list. Okay, 1 minute today, I've got 1 minute of anybody's time. What am I going to do with that minute? Am I going to lend an ear? Am I going to send a really kind message to someone who's, you know, just done something really good in the work? Yeah, am I going to do an act of kindness and just support someone through a task? Again, I don't want to be too prescriptive, because every kindness is not something you can just say, there you go, that's how you're kind. It's not that. It's thinking, this is important to me and this is how I want to demonstrate kindness, and your teams will feel the same too. So what does the research tell us about kindness? It reduces stress. Goodness me, I'm up for that one. Anything that will reduce the stress of the role, yep, I'm in. So just remember, it's so important to be kind, you know, and for people to be kind to you as well. I know how I've felt when someone's just rung me up and said, how are you going, Ellen? Fancy a laugh? I've always got 5 minutes for a laugh, because that really does fill me up. And really just does make my day. And in fact, our leadership team meetings, they're early in the morning. We always have 5 minutes of laughter, and I can't tell you what a difference that makes to the rest of my day. It sets me up on the right foot, just like the exercise and being in the outdoors does. It's actually courageous to be kind. I've done it myself. You think, no, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to look like, what am I going to look like? I'm going to be soft. I'm going to be seen to be vulnerable. That's not good for my image. Well, it's actually, it is really good for your image, and that being courageous once you've done it, it's much easier then to keep doing it. I'm not going to go through each of these, but certainly if anybody tells me I can live longer, I'm certainly up for that. So just remember that, you know, it's not just about being kind to others, it's about being kind to yourself. So kindness then, part of the mix, what impact does it have? Makes you feel positive. If someone's been kind to you, I would challenge anybody in this arena this morning to say, actually, that somebody was kind to me, I felt rubbish. And you know what, I trashed that. That's a load of rubbish, I think, and I'm happy to be challenged on that. So what harm can it do? It's free. You can choose to say a kind thing, but certainly a word of warning. Make sure you're feeling in a great place to feel really genuine about that kindness you're giving. Even if it's writing an email, it's conveying that message, which is so important. And it affects so many people. You can be kind to 3 people a day. You know, the multiplier effect of that. They think, oh, that felt great. I'm going to do this for others as well. And before you know it, it's infectious. And yeah, again, why not? I know Christina referred to, you know, emotional intelligence and how important it is. And, you know, we all possess that. And I think, again, it's just turning the volume up a bit. This is now almost, well-being is the new currency. Yeah, I'm a finance girl myself. I'm an accountant. We all know how important money is. We can't survive without it. But just please remember, well-being's right up there with that now. We've got to talk in the currency of kindness. So, you know, in as a cure, let's fight COVID, you know, head on. Let's give the care. Let's show our understanding. Let's recognize someone doing something great and actually, you know, just take the time to let them know. And, you know, the empathy. It's just taking the time to think about someone else and then how can I show them or how can I help them in this moment. Okay, so yes, I'll put my hands up here. I get saturated a lot because I like giving. It's in my nature. It makes me feel good, but it tires me out too. So you've got to start with yourself, and before you can start giving anything else, again, I'll talk in currency. You've only got so many pennies. You can only give so many pennies away. If you're not sort of building your own bank account, then it's going to be very limited, and we need to sustain the kindness. So, and again, Christina mentioned this, being okay with yourself, not feeling bad about whatever. Making time for you to be able to, you know, Richard gave you lots of examples, making it okay, you know, to be flexible with your time and actually letting your teams know, putting it in your diary. I have a 20-minute walk a day and I put it in my diary and I don't feel bad about it, because the feeling bad will be, it will erode you and what you're able to give and how you feel. So there are many things you can do, and I am not the authority on kindness. I'd like to be an absolute expert. I know what it means to me, but it's very individual and everybody's mix will be different. So this time in the breakout rooms, what I'd really like you to do is, me being a practical girl, I want us to go away with something. I want you to set out in your groups a couple of things. I want you to think about your kindness to self plan and identify three things on your list, 3 points. All right, what am I going to introduce to my day or my week? Those 3 points of kindness. And then identify how you're going to stick to it. So that's the first thing. If you don't get onto the second task, it's fine. But if you get onto the second one, how can you create 3 points on a kindness to others plan? So again, 3 points. What are you going to do every day? What that you can make a routine, or every week that you think you can stick to, and how will you deliver on that? How will you make yourself do it? And yeah, and I think if you're absolutely motoring on this, any thoughts you would want to share, any questions that you have, again, it's not, you know, I'm not going to dictate this. If you prefer to do that, then that's fine. But it'd be really good to sort of, for us to all be able to create a plan for ourselves. Okay, so if you're okay to go into your breakout room for 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and share.
Rich. Chris from Reese Leisure. Chris is on the screen. Hi, Chris. Got some great YouTube videos about some really great places in Hampshire. I thought we could, there's some nice synergy there with what we're trying to do next year with some walks. Well,
yeah,
Chris.
and to be honest with you, this was just a project that came up from a crowdfunding thing through Robin Creative Media in Eastleigh, and they were crowdfunding and said, if you want to have videos, let us know. And I said, it's never something we'd normally commission, but it's just something I've been really interested in. And I've seen those screensavers you get on YouTube, which is sort of like a crackling fire in a ski lodge and things like that. And I thought Hampshire's got so many beautiful parts to it. So we just took some videos of just photo shoots they'd been to. And the one that I did was when I kayaked over to the Isle of Wight, and I went round to Satchel's Bay, which is just past the Needles, and there was just nobody there. So I just set my iPhone up, did 10 minutes of just sort of filming, and just when I go back to go and watch that video, it's very calming hearing like the waves come up on the shore of the sea, and it's just a nice little 10-minute just chill out. You don't have to watch the screen the whole time, but you just feel a little bit more happy or energized just sort of seeing it pop up, really. So
It's a brilliant idea, Chris. Really good. I'll check out those links. But we might be able to do something, Rich, with taking one of those, any one of those locations and having a series. You know, you've seen it, you've seen the footage online. Let's go there.
Yeah, and if anyone's got any other suggestions of where they want to kind of have something comes up, I would love to sort of hear some more suggestions, because these are just ones that we've found, but it's nice to kind of get almost untapped ones that can almost be used as a tourist thing for people to go and have a look at in reality and enjoy there once you're allowed to again, which would be good.
Yes. Yeah. No, brilliant.
Well,
so, hijacking the session.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because one of the things I was talking to Ross about and Rob was whether we actually try and get together in the new year and just go for a small walk and a natter around some health and well-being and mental health conversations about work. And I was just wondering whether I had in my head Wednesday the 13th of January. There might be an idea, and we could get together. I saw a place now called Butser Hill near Queen Elizabeth Park there, and with some great views, and we could literally get together there, probably a small charge for it, and we can all go out for a walk, and I'll kind of engineer some activities that we can do whilst walking and nattering with people we can kind of be open with. So that's just a thought. If people are interested in that, I'll put a link in.
Thanks, Rich. I'm going to, where Helen? Is Helen with us?
Yeah. So there's
Helen.
quite a few comments coming through. So yeah, Lisa's, thank you, Lisa. And again, please shut me up if you prefer to talk to your comments. I'd much rather you guys sort of say your bit if you prefer, but equally I'm happy to share on your behalf. So getting a kindness buddy, really good. Creating that strong network around you. Again, that support network, we were just talking in our breakout room, how important that is. People around you, you feel they've got my back, I'm supported. I know if I'm having a moment, I can talk to someone. We've got Ross referring to the Wellbeing walk. Again, being kind to yourself, having a walk, that's my big thing, because I'd say if I was looking at my wellbeing picture, that's something that's lacking, and so I've introduced that into my daily routine, to be kind to myself and to get fit again. Lisa, again, being flexible. Again, that's a choice. We don't have to worry about the past. Try it. If it doesn't work, does it matter? Oh, we tried that together as a team, didn't quite work, because let's try this instead. So it's almost that landscape. It can be whatever we want that to be, within reason, clearly, and within our company parameters. But certainly just give things a try. What's the worst that can happen? So really like that. Chris, can you talk to us about networking?
Yeah.
So again, similar to what you sort of talked about, we've looked at a couple of routes in sort of Southampton City Centre and also in Winchester, where if people are going to go for a half an hour walk, rather than you sitting around in your boardroom to kind of have a half-an-hour meeting or an hour meeting, you kind of almost book in a route to go and do something which will last for half an hour, and you kind of get outside more and go and get your steps in during the day. And in our little breakout room just a minute ago, we were talking about how got limited daylight at the moment. So actually, if you can utilize your time during the day to go for a walk for a meeting rather than being sat inside and looking out to the window, seeing the beautiful sunshine, it's kind of a way you could change things in the future to get people and mix the two together. There's no reason why work has to be separate from exercise. There's definitely a good kind of combination. And it's something we've looked at when we come to sort of getting people back to leisure centres as well. And looking at an idea sort of like fit for business, where you go in, rather than you sitting down having a big, I know Hampshire Chamber do this as well, so it's nothing personal. It's just I've been to quite a few networking breakfasts where you go and arrive early, you feel like you've not had your breakfast, you've not had caffeine, you kind of feel unenergized because you've missed your gym session, you've missed your morning swim to go and do your networking. Whereas actually, if you could sit down, go and do an exercise class, spinning class, yoga class, or something all together, and then have breakfast together afterwards, the amount of endorphins and energy that's bouncing around the room will make a big difference. And like Christina was saying earlier about going for a bike ride at lunchtime or in the evenings, just the conversations that flow once you're feeling fully awake is a big difference, really. So yeah, lots of ideas about how to make people more active during the day, really.
Yeah. Anybody who'd like to, like Chris, just share, you know, their thoughts and what they feel really strongly about, or what's really worked in their environment?
Yeah, quite happy to share, actually. One of the things that we came up with in the group, saying about how it's important to take time, but then there's recognizing useful time and conscious time. So for me, for example, at the start of this, I pivoted. I was working 60, 70-hour weeks on screen, on laptop, Zooming with everyone all the time. And my switch off time was mindless TV, dinner, bed. That was it. Whereas actually, when I take the time at the end of the day to reevaluate everything I've done that day, touch base with my values and what my overall goal is, that enables me to put processes in place to be more kind to myself. So I found that's really quite useful.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, Emily. And yeah, it's almost putting your new boundaries into your day as well, isn't it? So for me, a big sort of boundary is Friday, sort of getting out of work mode. What do I do to actually get myself out of that mode of work and into my weekend very quickly without wasting any time? Because again, the gift of time, you know, we can't get it back, can we? And it's so important. And so, you know, it doesn't have to be the big things. Both Richard and Christina talked about the little things and how, you know, you could, we have a takeaway on a Friday night and we put music on instead of the telly. And it's not a big thing. We actually sit and talk, and it's almost Friday nights. This is now what that means. And that's part of my mix. And I really look forward to my Friday nights now. Whereas, to be honest, before, I didn't really appreciate it. I just sort of tumbled from my work into my weekend. And it might be sort of Saturday morning before I got into home mode. But, you know, that's a big waste of quality time. So, yeah, it's really important that it's like taking a microscope, isn't it? And looking at your day, your hour, even your minutes. I know that sounds daft, but thinking, right, I can make that into a good minute. I can make that into a good hour, and that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to pick that task to do because I know that makes me feel good, and I'm not feeling particularly good at the moment. I can talk to good one, Rob. I can talk to someone in the team who I know is going to make me laugh, and I can guarantee where I'm going to get my laughs from. And then it's about populating and doing positive things to bring together good days rather than looking at the weeks, looking about the longer time boundaries. So yeah, I think, is there anybody else who really feels that they want to share something great that they're doing?
Yeah, hi, Tom Canavan here. Sorry, I'm very new to the group. Can you hear me there okay?
Yes, loud and clear, Tom.
Yeah, I was sharing in our group about the positive effects of meditation, and even 5 minutes meditation a day will have a significant effect when measured in an MRI scanner on the prefrontal cortex, which allows us to think quickly and make better decisions. And again, it will grow the prefrontal cortex. And in addition to that, 5 minutes meditation a day will decrease the size of the amygdala. And the amygdala is where the stress receptors lie, where we feel pressure. And if we can increase that to 15 minutes a day through practice, and there's an awful lot on YouTube of free things to engage in with, and you don't need to necessarily engage in meditation in its normal sense. Cooking is meditative. What the lady was speaking before, sitting down and conversing with your family, is meditative. Fishing is meditative. People who do this DJ stuff with 2 decks are often in a meditative state when they're producing that music. So but the scientific evidence of how meditation improves the function and growth of the brain, even for someone like me who's in their old age, it's amazing. So I'd really ask people to research that and have a little look at how, because I'm retraining to be a corporate mental health executive after being 20 years in the NHS, and I'm finding some of this information I'm learning fascinating. But I'll leave it there. Meditate.
Thank you,
Rob, can I jump in?
Yes, go ahead. Who's that?
So
Steve?
hi. So I'm a former IBMer, but I'm a trained meditation teacher. I'm specifically focusing on thanks, Tom. So I specifically focus on teaching mindfulness in the workplace, and my sort of stomping ground was IBM. I brought a University of Oxford mindfulness program into IBM and piloted it there with some incredible results. So that there's certainly huge benefit, as Tom says, to bringing mindfulness into business. And how do you do that? There's a special skill really, because mindfulness is traditionally, it's been more of a clinical skill. It's been, certainly from the University of Oxford, it's been something that's been evolved to help people who are really struggling with depression or severe anxiety. So how do we port it into the business world? How do we make it palatable? How do we make it digestible and secular and available to people, so that not only can they fit it into their busy days, but it's truly helpful for them? And a significant shift that we made at IBM was moving people from just doing great keynote talks, hour-long sessions, maybe even half-day sessions, to giving them a structured 8-week program. It's only 90 minutes once a week for 8 weeks. When you take people through that program, they go from just understanding the concepts of what mindfulness might mean to actually having direct experience of that. And that's the difference. If we used a fitness analogy, it's probably the easiest thing to understand. It'd be the difference between somebody showing up to a forum like this and talking about fitness for an hour. Well, that's great, it's fantastic, but at the end of that hour, nobody would be any fitter, would they? We'd know what fitness was, we may know what would be involved in getting fit, but we wouldn't be any fitter. So the breakthrough we had at IBM was when we shifted from not just talking to people about mindfulness but allowing them to go on an 8-week program. Then we saw profound changes in sleep and blood pressure, people coming back to work early from sick leave, reporting a better work-life balance. We talked earlier about getting in touch with that kind of creativity and innovation that you can touch again when you're in a more centered, more grounded place. So phenomenal business impact from what's still considered by some to be a little bit strange, a little bit new age, maybe not a great fit for the workplace, but what we're seeing from the research is this absolutely has a place in the workplace and is really powerful.
Steve, that's superb. That is something we should definitely pick up on in the LinkedIn group that follows this session. I'm just being a little bit Mr. Boring by just pointing out the time. I know you've probably got busy days. We're sort of 10 minutes over. Helen, would you like to just close your session and we'll sort of move on, signpost to what happens next. So Helen.
Yeah, so thank you. So Steve, thank you so much for that. And everybody's plan will be different. So no one person's got all the great answers. What's really, really important is that you think, what's important to me? What can I introduce? Doing that in small ways that make you feel good. And then building on that plan and making that a routine. So focus on the small things. It can make a massive difference on yourself and those around you. And if you're doing it, they'll cascade. We can make a difference to how we're working.
Great, Helen. Thank you very much for a superb session the last of the three. This is just the beginning, really. The Health and Wellbeing Alliance is a whole series of events that follow this introductory session. So strongly encourage you to join that group. Steve, for example, Mission Performance, we run a lot of operational leadership resilience programs online. I would love to talk to you about your program. So let's hook up after this. And I'm sure there are others on the call as well. You know, together we can create something quite special. So let's keep the conversation going. Thoroughly enjoyed the three sessions personally. For what it's worth, I think that kindness, with my experience of working with high-performing teams and being part of them occasionally in a previous life, the kindness is the hard, steely underbelly, which if you ignore at your peril. Kindness is a strength, and we should project it and encourage it more in our everyday lives. So Helen, thank you. Richard, thank you. Christina, thank you. Ross, I will hand over to you, sir, for the final few words.
Thank you very much, Rob. I have to say, we have been involved in Chamber of Solutions events since March, and I know it's a strange thing to say, this has been the most rewarding and enjoyable experience I've had in that 6 or 9 months. And I think it's possibly because we are all in a space where we are supporting and being kind to each other. And I think that is really invaluable. You can see from the chat, you can see from the breakout groups, you can see from the sharing that we've done today, that there is so much we can do to support each other. And so I propose that that's what we continue to do. I have, I'm afraid, provided a lot of details in the chat, but some of the important ones is that I have provided the email address, which is wellbeingalliance@hampshirechamber.co.uk. So if you want to get in touch and share and be engaged and involved in everything that is happening at the Wellbeing Alliance, that's the address to go to. It's supported by Julie Eckersley, who's here on the call today with us from the Chamber, and also goes straight to the panelists who are here today and who are leading our Wellbeing Alliance programme. So when you communicate with us, you are directly communicating with the team behind this and be able to help you and direct you towards all of the solutions. We also have a growing lot of details on our website under Chamber of Solutions. You'll see the Wellbeing Alliance as a drop down there, and there's a whole lot of information, including you can put your information on there. This is about you, and also the LinkedIn group as well, so that we can share and exchange information. I've been asked on the chat, I think it was Emily, and I think she's absolutely right. I thought this was the Wellbeing Alliance. Well, it's right. This is the Wellbeing Alliance. Consider yourself enrolled. You are in the Wellbeing Alliance. You will be invited to every event and activity that comes forward. But what we also want you to do is reach out and engage with each other through those channels, and hopefully that we can achieve that for you. Moving forward, yes, we must put some dates in some diaries, and we must go on that walk, Richard, and we must put some more activity in Zoom and otherwise as we open up, and we don't forget what we've learned during this lockdown period. Wellbeing Alliance is now a firm and established part of our Chamber of Commerce, and it's a good reason to, I think, get engaged and get involved with us. Thank you so much, everybody. Just a final word, if you know anybody that needs help, please get in touch with us. Please get in touch with Samaritans. Please utilise those other charitable foundations that you're aware of that can come in and support. It's important that we help each other and that we are there when we see that there is a crisis in somebody's life. So please do make sure that you provide that level of support, and we're here to back you up with that. Thank you so much for coming in today, and it's been a wonderful experience, and I look forward to the next one. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Russ. Lovely to see you all. Stay in touch, and we'll be seeing one another again soon, hopefully. So have a great rest of the day, great week. Go out and have a walk or whatever you might want to do. Be inspired, be kinder to ourselves, and see you again soon. Panelists, if we can stay on just for a quick wrap up. Steve, I'll drop
everybody.
you a line.
Great. Thanks, Rob.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Go well.
Guys, yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Emily. Thank. So Helen, I don't know what the devil happened there. I'd switched my phone off. Suddenly my iPad leaped into action. It was like, oh, oh crikey. Who turned that thing on? Turn it off. Sorry.
Don't worry, you didn't distract me.
Yeah, it took me back to the second Chamber of Solutions, which Ross.
Yeah.
Like a British moment of carry on up the Khyber with Mason. An uninvited guest.
Oh dear, indeed.
Probably the politest way of putting it. But
Yeah, indeed.
I thought that went brilliantly well. Great feedback, great sessions. I, personally feel, buoyed up. It's superb. Great.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, sorry, somebody's left me a very long personal message in the chat. I was just trying to read it, and but yeah, it was